Welcome back to the channel, where we uncover the most emotional, shocking, and unforgettable royal stories from history. Today's story is one that spans love, loss, exile, and an extraordinary homecoming. This is a heartbreaking yet inspiring journey of the woman known as a wandering princess. Imagine being born into royalty, surrounded by privilege, power, and promise, only to have your entire life redirected by decisions made by others. Imagine loving deeply but never being allowed to marry, watching your happiness slip away because of family control, political pressure, and a mother's iron grip. And imagine finally returning home after 83 years in exile. This is not just a royal story. This is a human story. She was born into one of the most powerful royal families in East Asia, a princess by birth and destiny. From the outside, her life appeared charmed. But behind palace walls, her future was anything but free. From a young age, her life was carefully planned, controlled, and monitored, especially by her mother, who was determined to shape her daughter into the perfect royal asset. Education was strict. Behavior was regulated. Emotions were discouraged. Love, especially romantic love, was seen as a threat, not a right. As she grew older, the princess longed for something simple yet forbidden: freedom. She wanted to choose her own path, her own love, her own life. But every step she tried to take was blocked by royal expectations and maternal authority. Then came love. For the first time, she met someone who saw her not as a political tool, not as a royal symbol, but as a woman with dreams, fears, and a heart capable of deep affection. Their connection was real, tender, and powerful, but it was also dangerous. Her mother opposed the relationship fiercely. The man was not considered suitable. He was not from the right family. He did not serve the political interests of the royal household. And worst of all, he represented freedom. Under relentless pressure, surveillance, and emotional manipulation, the princess was forced to abandon the love of her life. The separation broke her heart, and something inside her never fully healed. She never married. As the years passed, suitors were presented, arrangements suggested, and proposals discussed. But none could replace the love she was forbidden to keep. Her heart remained closed, guarded by grief, disappointment, and quiet rebellion. She chose solitude over submission, silence over surrender. But her pain was only the beginning. Political turmoil soon swept through her homeland. The monarchy fell. The royal family lost its power, its status, and eventually its country. The princess was sent abroad, forced into exile at a young age, far from the palace, far from her roots, and far from everything she had ever known. What was meant to be temporary became permanent. Years turned into decades. She lived in foreign lands, speaking foreign languages, adapting to foreign cultures, always carrying the invisible weight of a lost homeland. She was a princess without a palace, a royal without a crown, a woman without a home. Her mental health suffered deeply. Loneliness, heartbreak, and displacement took their toll. There were periods when she struggled to function, when grief and trauma overwhelmed her. Yet she survived. Not because life was kind, but because she was strong. She became known as the Wandering Princess, a symbol of exile, endurance, and quiet dignity. Wherever she went, she carried her past with her, not as a badge of honor, but as a heavy, silent burden. Despite everything, she remained gentle, intelligent, and compassionate. She taught, she wrote, she helped others. And yet, she never stopped longing for home. She never stopped longing for the palace gardens, the familiar language, the culture, the food, the memories of childhood, before everything was taken from her. For 83 years, she lived as a stranger to her own land. 83 years. Imagine leaving your home as a young woman and returning as an elderly one. Imagine not knowing whether you would ever walk your homeland's soil again. Imagine carrying the pain of exile not just for years, but for nearly an entire lifetime. Most people would give up hope. She did not. As political climates shifted and governments changed, a possibility slowly emerged, one that had seemed impossible for decades. Her homeland began to open its doors. The government reconsidered the fate of exiled royals. And quietly, without fanfare, permission was granted. She could return. After 83 years away, the wandering princess was finally coming home. The moment was surreal. As her plane touched down, history itself seemed to pause. She stepped onto the soil of the country she had not seen since her youth, older, frail, but emotionally stronger than ever. Tears filled her eyes. The land had changed. The cities had transformed. But the earth beneath her feet was the same. This was home. She was greeted not as a political figure, but as a human being who had endured unimaginable loss. Officials, citizens, and historians alike recognized the significance of her return, not just for her, but for the nation itself. It was not just a homecoming. It was closure. She visited the places of her childhood, the streets she once walked, the landmarks she once knew, the culture she once lived. And though time had altered everything, her heart recognized it instantly. For the first time in over 8 decades, she was no longer a wanderer. She was home. Her return sparked reflection across the country. People began to ask difficult questions. Was her suffering necessary? Was her exile justified? Was her lost love worth the political stability that followed? Was her mother's control an act of protection, or an act of emotional imprisonment? History does not offer simple answers. But one truth is undeniable. Her life was shaped by forces beyond her control, and yet she endured with grace. She never married. She never had children. She never had the life she dreamed of. But she had something else: resilience, dignity, and the strength to survive when survival itself felt impossible. Her story reminds us that royalty does not protect the heart from pain. Power does not shield the soul from sorrow. And privilege does not guarantee happiness. Love denied can echo across a lifetime. Exile can fracture identity. Control can destroy joy. Yet hope, even when fragile, can endure for decades. Her final years were not about reclaiming power. They were about reclaiming peace. She walked her homeland once more. She breathed its air. She listened to its language. She felt at last that her journey had come full circle. Not as a queen, not as a political symbol, but as a woman who had survived. Her story is not one of defeat, but of endurance, not of bitterness, but of quiet strength, not of tragedy alone, but of survival, dignity, and the power of returning home, even after nearly a century of loss. The wandering princess did not get the life she wanted, but she reclaimed a place she loved. And sometimes that is enough. Thank you for watching today's story. If you found this journey moving, insightful, or powerful, please like, share, and subscribe for more royal stories, hidden histories, and emotional journeys you won't hear anywhere else. Let us know in the comments what part of her story touched you the most, and stay tuned for our next unforgettable episode.